a Wikividi Documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. The Age of Adeline. The Age of Adeline is a 2015 American romantic fantasy film about a woman who stops aging after an accident at the age of 29. It was directed by Lito Land-Krieger and written by J. Mills Goodloe and Salvador Pascowitz. The film stars Blake Lively, Michael Heisman, Kathy Baker, Amanda Crew, Harrison Ford, and Ellen Burstyn. The film was theatrically released on April 24, 2015 by Lionsgate. Plot. One afternoon in San Francisco, Adeline Bowman purchases fake IDs at an apartment before returning home to feed her dog. She then goes to work and opens a box of film reels, including one that explains her life. She was born on New Year's Day 1908, then later married and gave birth to a daughter, only to become a widow after her husband died in a tragic accident. Years later, in 1937, Adeline crashed her car when she swerved into a ravine during a snowstorm and died in the freezing lake nearby, but a lightning strike suddenly revived her. From that moment on, Adeline has stayed physically 29 years old. Ever since, she has changed her identification and address according to the era, while her daughter Fleming ages normally, appearing older than Adeline. One night, two suspicious FBI agents attempt to force her onto an aeroplane for study, but she escapes captivity and realizes that she will have to spend the rest of her life on the run. On New Year's Eve in the present year, she attends a party where she meets Ellis Jones, introducing herself as her current alias, Jennifer. He asks to see her again, but she refuses, knowing she can never fall in love, because she can never have a normal future with someone. The next day, at work, Ellis arrives and again asks Adeline to go on a date with him. Finally she accepts. In a flashback, Adeline is shown pulling up in a cab to a park where a man is waiting, holding an engagement ring. Scared, she asks the cab driver to keep going. Back in the present day, Adaline's dog falls ill and she begins to ignore Ellis' calls. He shows up at her apartment, but she pushes him away, only to have a change of heart while looking through some old photographs and realizing she doesn't want to live the same year 100 times without having a natural life. They later resolve their argument and Ellis asks Adeline to attend the party at his parents' house celebrating his parents' 40th anniversary, and she says yes. Upon their arrival, Ellis introduces her to his father, William, who recognizes her instantly and calls her Adeline. She appears to recognize him, too, but lies, telling him that Adeline was her mother, who has since died. A flashback shows how they met and came to be in love, soon revealing that he was the man with the engagement ring she stood up at that afternoon. One night, Ellis tells Adeline he is falling in love with her and she is unsure of how to react. The following day, Adeline talks with William outside and he notices a scar on her left hand and becomes shaken. Another flashback reveals that Adeline cut her hand while they were hiking decades ago and he had stitched it up himself. He realizes that she is truly Adeline and confronts her. She becomes upset, claiming she used to be normal and doesn't know what changed her. He begs her not to run, for Ellis' sake, but she says she doesn't know how to stay. She flees and returns to the house, writing a note to Ellis while he showers, then she packs her things and leaves. Moments later, Ellis finds the letter and confronts his father, who refuses to explain. While driving home, Adeline thinks of all the times she has run and suddenly has a change of heart about the way she lives her life. She stops and calls her daughter to tell her she is going to stop running. As she turns the car around, a tow truck plows into her in a hit-and-run accident, leaving her to die. Freezing and helpless, Adeline dies again. An ambulance arrives, and she is revived by the electricity of the defibrillator. Later in the hospital, she wakes up to Ellis, and the two profess their love for one another. Adeline then tells him of her 107 years of life. 1 year later, Ellis and Adeline are going to a New Year's Eve party. As she is leaving, she notices something strange in a hallway mirror, her first gray hair, proving she has begun to age naturally again. When Ellis asks if she is okay, she responds, "Yes. Perfect." Production. On May 12, 2010, it was announced that The Age of Adaline would be co-financed and co-produced by Lakeshore Entertainment and Sydney Kimmel Entertainment. Salvador Paskowitz and J. Mills Goodlow wrote the script. Sierra Affinity has the international rights, while producers were Steve Golan, Alex Madigan, Tom Rosenberg, and Gary Lucchese. On July 20, 2010, it was reported that Andy Tennant was set to direct the film. On October 31, 2010, Summit Entertainment bought the U.S. distribution rights to the film, which was set to begin shooting in March 2011 for an early 2012 release. On February 22, 2011, it was reported that Gabriele Mucchio was in talks to direct the film, replacing Tennant, with the film retitled from The Age of Adaline to simply Adaline. On May 14, 2012, it was announced that Spanish director Isabel Couchet would direct the film instead. On October 16, 2013, Lee Toland Krieger was reported to be the actual director of the film. Producer Dan Cohen had shown him the script at a general meeting in 2009. Casting. On May 12, 2010, Katherine Heigl was cast as the title character. On November 12, 2010, Angela Lansbury was added to the cast of the film, set to play the daughter of the ageless Adaline. On November 15, Heigl withdrew from Adaline's cast, and there were rumors that she had been fired by Lakeshore, which both Lakeshore and Heigl denied. She later announced that her withdrawal was a result of her recent adoption of a daughter. On August 15, 2011, The Wrap reported that Natalie Portman had been offered the lead role. On August 25, Portman told Entertainment Weekly that she had declined the offer. On October 16, 2013, Blake Lively and Ellen Burstyn were cast in the film to play the lead roles, with Lively starring as the title character. On January 15, 2014, Harrison Ford joined the cast, and the film was set to begin shooting in March of that year. On February 11, 2014, Michael Huisman joined the cast to star opposite Lively as Adaline's love interest. Filming began on March 10, 2014 in Vancouver and continued through May 5. On March 11, 2014, filming at the Hotel Vancouver commenced. Anamorphic lenses and minimal use of Steadicams were employed to provide greater authenticity for scenes set in the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. The film's Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire served as inspiration for the period color tone and saturation. Music. While Rob Simonson scored the film, Lana Del Rey contributed a song titled Life is Beautiful. The song is featured in the film's trailer, but is not included in the soundtrack. Marketing. The promotional campaign was aimed primarily at fashion-conscious women. Danielle De Palma, Executive Vice President of Digital Marketing at Lionsgate, said, "We were very aware of Blake's high fashion profile when we crafted the campaign, and there was so much beautiful imagery from the film. They created vignettes for MTV and VH1 and a fashion segment for E! News showing viewers how to achieve the same looks as Lively. They created a custom, fashion journey through the decades initiative, through which a fashion influencer from YouTube or Maker Studios created a unique look inspired by the film." Video ads were also released on Instagram and tutorials on Pinterest. Advanced screenings for fashion and lifestyle influencers took place in partnership with Gilt City. The application Periscope was used to spread information about the film. Critical response. The Age of Adaline has received mixed reviews from critics, although the performances of Blake Lively and Harrison Ford received very positive reviews and were cited as some of their best work in recent years. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a rating of 55%, based on 146 reviews, with an average rating of 5.5. The site's consensus reads, "The Age of Adaline ruminates on mortality less compellingly than similarly themed films, but is set apart by memorable performances from Blake Lively and Harrison Ford." On Metacritic, the film has a score of 51 out of 100, based on 31 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. In cinema score polls conducted during the opening weekend, cinema audiences gave The Age of Adaline an average grade of A-. on an A+ to F scale. Matt Zolozitz of RogerEbert.com gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, expressing surprise at the film's increase in quality midway through. "I've never seen a less involving movie become so compelling at the exact moment when you've re-signed to write it off as just okay." He also gave high praise to Harrison Ford's dramatic performance, writing that Ford's voice, always deep, lowered an octave by age and one more by Williams' longing, is even more powerful than the devastating look on his face. "This is Ford's best performance since The Fugitive, maybe since Witness." Brought to you by Wikivideo Documentaries. Would you like to know more?